What's new, 802? I'm Becca Hammond, and you're listening to Vermont Talks. Vermont Talks may include graphic or explicit content. Listener discretion is advised. Today, we're talking with Andy Bouchard. He's the owner and the operator of Borderline Entertainment and the Barrage, a DIY music venue on the border in the Northeast Kingdom. He's a high school special educator in the Northeast Kingdom, and he has been for the last 13 years. And he is also currently serving as a select board member in Holland. Let's get to it. Andy Bouchard, welcome on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Can you tell me a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your business?
Sure. Well, I grew up in South Burlington, actually. That's why I was curious. I'm wondering where in town you are. But grew up going to shows in Burlington and so on. And that was childhood. Now I'm living up in the Northeast Kingdom. And I've been up here for about 13 years. And around 4 years ago, I decided to start Borderline Entertainment, which is a small music production company out located up here where we put on cool, unique shows in different places where you normally wouldn't see live music and try to get some of the best local artists and regional artists that we can have. And I operate the home venue in the Barrage, which is located about 40 feet behind me outside.
And,
the Barrage.
Such a great name.
I thank you. It's a clumsy portmanteau. Actually, it's not clumsy. It's just a portmanteau. It was once a barn back in the 70s. It was actually, no, I'm sorry, I flipped it. Originally, it was an auto garage. It was like the town auto garage in Holland, Vermont, which is where I am. And there's even a grease pit underneath on one side that you can go down. It's a den of horrors. It's scary as all get out, getting down in there. But and then around the 90s, somebody converted it to a horse barn, and then 4 years ago demolished it and turned it into the Barrage, and that's why it's barn garage Barrage, and it's a
perfect. Yeah, that makes total sense. Barn garage.
And also it's like gets really loud, so it's a Barrage sound.
That's why it's kind of awesome that you're up in the Northeast Kingdom, because you can kind of be louder than I have a feeling that neighbors complain a lot more in Burlington than they do out that way.
Well, there's a lot more of them. Neighbors.
Right. Yes. Oh yeah, there's many neighbors where I'm at, so I totally understand that. But you are lucky. I grew up in Berkshire, which is not quite Northeast Kingdom, but it's getting up into the middle of nowhere. And that was the nicest thing about it, is that we could make all sorts of noise there.
For sure. Oh, and I always think like I'm not that outlandish, because during the summer there'll be chainsaws going at 6 a.m. throughout the valley, and the people with their four-wheelers are much more consistently loud than the shows.
So how many people, when I think of a barn, it's not small. So how many people can you fit at the Barrage?
Well, that's what I kind of like about the Barrage, is because it's to scale. It's not that big. It's really kind of like a 2-bag garage. And if pre-COVID times, you could probably pack 40 to 50 people in there, like, and have it be real intimate and real tight. There'd be a lot of people in there, but you could fit about that many people in with the band. But luckily the doors are open and most people are all dispersed.
So have you been doing any shows at all during the pandemic?
No, none at all. I was in the process of booking shows last summer, or at least beginning part of January and so forth. And it was shaping up to be really exciting. It's quite amazing to think about the things that could have been. But
exactly. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It could have been so awesome last year.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, it was really would have been sweet, but that was not the way it was.
Even better, though, now that everyone's getting their vaccines. Late summer, people are going to be super pumped to go out to some shows.
For sure. I'm a teacher, and I already got my J&J And so I'm ready. I'm ready to go.
So I definitely want to talk a little bit about what you do for work and your history and
Yeah.
everything. But how would a band get in touch with you to have a DIY show?
It started out, there was a Do I DIY was a website I used. I put myself out there as a venue, and that's how I got my first initial round of artists who were traveling. The first people I worked with was a band called the Threads out of Chicago, and
Cool.
then I'm sorry.
Very cool. That's awesome that it was someone that wasn't even local even to start with.
Well, it totally filled my gas tank, and like, oh, this is something I can do, and I can really run with this. And then there was the DIY Burlington Facebook page that was helpful, and then there was a DIY tour posting page on Facebook as well, and that's where I would get people soliciting to me. And then otherwise, I too would be reaching out to artists who I had been listening to or had noticed and wanted to connect with.
Awesome. Very cool. Have you had, so 4 years, like that's a little bit of time to get established before the pandemic hit. What was the most fun show that you guys put on, if you can pick one?
Most fun show that I think we had here that I can just think of, there's a couple. We had one with it was a triple bill, and we had the Good Neighbors. They were from Buffalo. We had Tropic Vibes, a reggae band from Jersey, and I'm actually cheating. I'm going to quickly look up because and then Northeast Kingdom band called Rookie.
Oh, yeah, no kidding. I've definitely heard of Rookie before.
Yeah, they were great. And all of them, it was just a super fun evening. It was like peak beautiful summer, and that was really good. But that was like the most fun. But then there were several other shows that just really like resonate in my mind and other people's minds, that everyone who has been to one, they got their story about the ones that they really connected with. There was like a Chris Bernstorff, who was a spoken word poet. He was coming through. He was with, they played at, what was the Burlington place? The Ratskeller or something like that. Like
the Rat House.
Rat House, there it was. They had played there the night before, and then we're up here. And he was a spoken word poet with this single light bulb. And at that point, I hadn't really I had turned the barn into the Barrage, but it wasn't nearly as fancy-ish as it is now in terms of like the looks of it, and new doors too. And it was just this really magical evening with this guy and this light in this creaky barn on a dead end like dirt road. It was just really cool.
That's awesome. This sounds like a special place. I can't wait to come check out a show there. I'm
for
stoked.
Sure. Definitely got to. It's like you make a whole day of it too, because then you get to be in the Northeast Kingdom, and it will be.
Right. Oh yeah, it's a trek for people out this way, but there's so many people out in the Northeast Kingdom and out in the various towns in between here and there. There's so many people. That's where the majority of Vermont is. So
yeah, for sure.
This is so interesting to me. So you are, I'm guessing, a musician yourself.
Creative. I do play music too, but in general, I just a creative person, and I'm always dabbling in something.
I want to hear about your experiences when you were young and what got you creative and led you to this point. A little, you can definitely go into as much detail or as little detail as you want. I love questions like this though, because people just tell me their life story or very little.
Yeah, no, I can go on.
We like that on Vermont Talks. We definitely appreciate when people just tell us stories.
Oh, totally. I've really been enjoying it. I really the most recent one I listened to was the Burlington record guy, the Burlington record plant one. And that one was just so interesting hearing the whole story and everything and you geeking out with it. Great show. Keep it up.
That guy was awesome. That was the coolest store. I love meeting all the different people involved in the music industry in the area and in Vermont because it's so live and vibrant. And we're kind of going off on a tangent here, but tell me about yourself.
Well, I think I'll circle back to that at the end because we are a wellspring of amazingness. So yeah, grew up in South Burlington and always had music on in the house. My dad was a huge music fan and so on. He brought me to my first show, which was BB King at the Memorial Auditorium. And
so cool.
Yeah. And so it really since then just kind of see shows as much as I can, but also, through the high school, I always was envious of the kids that would go to 242 because they had their group of friends that would go, but none of my friends would go. And I was not about to go by myself down there. But I ended up
I can understand that, especially when you're young.
Totally. I think I did end up going by the end of my high school years. And I think that was the first time I saw like paraphernalia about veganism. And I was just like, what's this? And it was, of course, down at 242. But then I went to college at Castleton. And while in school at Castleton, I got involved with booking the shows for the college. And so that's where I kind of first started getting involved with that and working with all types of artists and figuring out all the different types of acts you can work with. And I don't want to say the intentions. Well, yeah, kind of the intentions of all the different artists and figuring out just navigating that. As well, I was at college. I had my first real experience with this is something I want to do because I was able to at the time book Against Me to perform there. And I was able to finagle a radio interview with them. And all of a sudden just being face to face with people you've listened to and really connected with, and then recognizing they're just people and then you can interact with them. It was a really just leveling experience for me that I really appreciated. And
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I missed 242. Oh, sorry. Go on.
For sure. If you go to there's an Against Me documentary where they've got scenes from inside 242 when they were playing there. You can see my 19-year-old self getting my hands bloodied on the thing, just punching because it was just so awesome of a show.
That's so cool because I've heard about that. I've definitely heard that reference that 242 is in that documentary. That's so cool that you're in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Congratulations.
And if you look, there was a poster of Johnny Cash. That's how you can tell it's 242. For some reason, there's a poster of Johnny Cash behind the drummer.
So cool. Man, I really wish they'd save that building and just bring 242 back. Like, why?
I know.
It's still there.
I was really bummed to hear Higher Grounds trying to move over to the other side down to the south side of Burlington. But I wouldn't want to even guess the finances involved with bringing that building back up to shape.
I'm not sure I think those guys were going to move on Pine Street into the old buildings that are kind of like already falling down. I don't know if they're adding on or if they're planning on moving entirely or if it's going to be a whole new venue. They might be, I'm not quite sure what their plan was. And the pandemic might have totally changed that because I remember that was right before the pandemic hit that they were having meetings about that. So I don't know where they're at. It would be awesome if someone moved in there though, even if it was, I don't know, just in memory of 242, even if they didn't bring it back in the purest form, it would be nice to just get back in the building and save it.
Well, it was just such a amazing spot that really inspired so many people, including myself. And I didn't even go there that much, but it was there and you knew it was there doing things. And then, Memorial Auditorium, there were great shows there too. I saw Deftones and it was awesome.
Is Memorial Auditorium? Oh, sorry. I was having a moment. I was for some reason thinking of a totally different building. That's the same building 242's in now.
Right, yeah.
Yes, same place.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
got the little tiny thing and then you got the big thing.
right, right. See, I never got to go in the big part of that building. I only got to go in 242 and for one show, and I think it was a year or two before they closed entirely. And it's just been a sad memory, and I feel like I missed out. A lot of people got to spend a lot of time there, and there's this love for 242 and just the documentary, the Against Me documentary. And now I'm trying to remember if it was Big Heavy World is
Yeah.
heavily involved in making that 242 main documentary. And I can't remember if it was them and someone else. For some reason, I'm thinking there was someone else involved in that. That was over a year ago now. I should quoting things
I heard about that. It seemed exciting.
It seemed so cool. The pictures that I got to see in the little blurbs as they were putting together seemed fantastic. I need to check back in. I haven't, that's it. It's been so long. I'm not quite sure where that project's at anymore. Anyway,
Yeah.
So back to you, Andy.
Then after college, had a family. I mean, I still have a family. Yeah, but definitely makes you focus more on making a living than exploring other things. And yeah, and we'll continue just going to shows and always appreciating that and loving how close to Canada I am too, because flash forward living in the Northeast Kingdom, really being, how to put it, really sick of having to drive so far to see the shows that I want to see.
I feel that.
Yeah, Bakersfield, without a doubt. Bakersfield is what you said, right?
Berkshire, close.
Berkshire, sorry.
Very close, though. That was definitely my neck of the woods.
Yeah, and I mean, I've had plenty of good times going to different shows around the Northeast Kingdom, seeing all sorts of good, solid bar bands that are awesome and really put on great shows. And then also there's a big like bluegrass and folk kind of music scene up here, which was always what I always appreciated. But then I'd end up driving to Burlington to higher ground for shows, or up to Sherbrooke, where there's a club called La Murdoch, and that's like this great hardcore punk club. And
Very cool.
so plenty, yeah, it was really neat to get up there. It was the first time I heard like Power Violence, and I'm like, I mean, your song's 17 seconds long, and I don't really understand it, but dig it. Go for it.
I know some bands like that around here.
Yeah. How many drum beats can I get into this 1 second loop? Yeah, and pretty much getting frustrated about it. And quite frankly, once the election happened, once Trump was elected, that really lit a fire under my butt to try to do something that was tangible. And I kind of just reverted back to my college days and was like, well, I'll put a show together. And I gathered a small group of bands, Grand from Newport. My cousin was at UVM and his buddies had a cover band. I forget what they were called. I don't think they really went like much longer. But then I also I was making posters for the show at Bread and Puppet Theater, and this young kid just like, oh, you gotta get my friend's band Greaseface. And I was like, all right. And so then Greaseface joined the show too, and that was up in Montgomery actually. And once I had that show, because it was a fundraiser for we ended up donating money to the Vermont ACLU the Vermont Refugee Resettlement Program, Planned Parenthood, and Wilderness Society. And
that's awesome. Did you guys have it at the up at the snow? Oh, what is it? The snowshoe? Snow.
It was right next door. It was at the grain, or like the big hall.
Right. The one next door. Yeah, because there's like two places in Montgomery that you could have it pretty much.
Yes. Well, that was the thing. What was funny is everyone's like, oh, you got to do in Montgomery. Everyone loves music in Montgomery and stuff. But we had a great turnout and we ended up raising a lot of money. But at the same time, I was like, I thought, as many people as I would imagine. But then I realized as well, like, oh, you got to do all the outreach. You got to do all aspects of this,
Oh yeah,
putting a
you've got to
show
get the
together.
rumor mill going in that area because no one sees each other. There's no like watering hole where people go and see each other because yeah, Montgomery and Berkshire are literally next to each other, so we're
Right.
right in the middle of nowhere together. And
Backs up against the mountain.
exactly, there's just you don't have in Montgomery. There's the store, but people don't
So
go
that's
there every day. The average person spends days without seeing their neighbors. So it's kind of like you got to get the rumor mill flowing, and yeah,
early.
definitely, yeah, early. Plan a month ahead to get that rumor mill flowing.
It's a real thing, and that's been like the slow, steady drumbeat that I've been having to work on with Borderline Entertainment and the Barrage is that slow drumbeat of getting more and more people interested to make the trek out to somewhere to see something different.
Right. Oh, I'm sure people would be very interested once you've got to get to the people and that just don't see anyone. That's the thing. It's funny how isolated people are. And I guess everyone's kind of isolated these days. I mean, very isolated these days specifically.
For sure.
But in general, in those areas in Vermont, it's unless you've got a very small knit town. A lot of the towns are just so spread out that like Berkshire doesn't have a town center. We really
Right.
truly don't have a town center. We call it Berkshire Town Center, and that's where there's a church that's closed, a store that's closed, and like our town clerk's office. And that's it. There's just the town's clerk's office. So no one goes there except for the day you vote. There's no place to put up a bulletin board except for the elementary school, and only people who go to the elementary school would see that. Not like a 20-something would never see any bulletins in that area.
Totally. It's that decline of that third place where you like everyone can kind of go to, but it's the same there. But it's you have the I like call it Kingdom. Northeast Kingdom. Everything's freaking called the Northeast Kingdom. Whatever you do, it's going to be the Kingdom. Whatever, but you call it Kingdom Close, and that means that somebody lives within a half-hour drive from you, and that's close. You have to drive a half hour.
Yeah, because that's less than the 2 hours to get anywhere else.
Exactly. And even then, the 30 minutes you're driving, you're going 60, 70 miles an hour the entire time.
Right. Oh, yeah, up in the Northeast Kingdom because of 91. And it's funny how dead that interstate is. Like dead. And you fly and you see no one. And you can go 70 miles and it feels like it's almost, I guess that's what they do out in Texas and the flat middle parts of this country where they'll just go for hours, and you can do that in the Northeast Kingdom. That feels like a hike here. I don't go more than like 15 minutes when you live in this area.
You don't need to.
Right. Half an hour feels like a real trip to me, but like you said.
Yeah, the islands, ugh.
Oh, yeah. That's Colchester. I don't want to go up to Mallett's Bay. That's too far away. Like, I'm so pampered now. But like you said, when you live up in the Northeast Kingdom, half an hour is totally reasonable. People do that for groceries.
Oh, big time. And it's one of the things that's kind of cool is each show we would have like a handful of people where I'd always talk to people and stuff. And they're like, oh, yeah, I'm from Wolcott. Heard about the place and just wanted to come out for the night and see new music. It was like, awesome. That's almost
People
an hour
live
away.
In Wolcott? I'm still
Right.
joke about that because of Buck's Furniture. That was like the whole town.
Oh, yeah.
But
Totally.
Buck's closed, didn't it? So I just think of Wolcott and Buck's Furniture, and you drive into town and you'd see Buck's and you drive out.
Right there. I never saw it till it was closed. And so it was like this childhood dream deferred, or I don't know if that's a wrong phrase or whatever, but like you hear about it all the time. Well, in between Marcellus Parsons, and then all of a sudden there it is, and it's like this dilapidated building, but I'm sure it was great.
Well, when it was in its heyday, it was all the buildings. That was what was so weird. All the little houses were Buck's Furniture. They were like extensions.
I wonder where Buck is now.
I don't know. I'm scared to ask.
True.
Because I think that store was around for a long, long, long time.
Yes.
That was definitely a piece of 90s Vermont history. Probably probably back to the 70s. My parents talked about Bucks like it was a childhood dream too.
Aspirational furniture.
Right. Oh man. Okay, all right. So, we got to the Barrage. We discussed the Barrage in all of its good forms. I think we covered that. So, Borderline Entertainment is the entity that runs the Barrage? Is it anything else?
Correct. Yes. Correct. It is the entity that runs the Barrage. It also helps put on shows in other places. So, for example, I have put on shows at the Derby Line United Universalist Church, which is located right on the border. It's that the Derby Line Clerks and then Customs. And the first show I had there, side story, it was Trail Lamb and Olive Tiger, two artists out of like Connecticut and New York City. And so they got there early, they parked, and then they wanted to go walk and look at the border. Unfortunately, they inadvertently walked over the border and were detained by Border Patrol not Border Patrol, Customs, for about an hour to an hour and a half. And luckily I figured out, and I mean, I felt very bad for the artists because they were very intimidated and scared, because at this point it's also 2017. To set the stage.
Right.
And
I grew up right on the border, so I know exactly how over the top scary acting they can be. And I feel for the artists.
All the officers, so I just want to say they were super respectful and nice, but it just was a long and intimidating process.
Oh yeah, getting stuck at the border for over an hour, yeah. Especially the interrogation, that's just not fun. And yeah, I know people who've walked across the border fishing. My dad would do that.
Oh, sure.
Oh yeah, it's very easy when you live on the border. There's just kind of like a tree gap if you're not on a road. And if you're on a road, some of them just trail off into Canada and the town I'm from. They just kind of fade away.
That's what my road is.
Yep, so it's easy to do.
Quite. Yeah, it's always a constant here at my house. I mean, the road does actually dead end. I am actually about a third of a mile from Canada. I can see Canada from my window.
Same. That's how I grew up.
Yeah. And so I put on shows there at the Derby Line Church. I also worked with Stansted House Concert Series. They're out of the Eastern Townships. And the two of us worked together to get Wallace Bird from Ireland. She performed at the church as well, and that was amazing. Otherwise, I've worked with Ardelia Farm and Company. They had a stand at the Burlington Farmers Market for a while. They make gorgeous, beautiful flower. It's a flower farm and bakery. Thomas, actually, one of the guys, he was just on Chopped, actually, a couple of years ago.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And I worked with them, and we brought Mimi and the Pod Brothers, which was a New York City jazz ensemble, and they performed on their flower farm for a couple summers as well. And so that was something Borderline Entertainment helped put on.
That's fantastic.
That's that aspect of things.
So you were talking about how you donated money from that show in Montgomery. So does Borderline tend to donate money as part of these shows you plan, or is that just like a one-off for that fundraiser?
That was a one-off for the fundraiser. When it comes to shows, we're definitely not unfamiliar with doing fundraisers. Actually, I'm wearing right now a Barrage hoodie, and the proceeds, I sell those online. Gypsy Coast out of Lindenville helped make these and design these. They're great people. I sell these online, and half the proceeds from this goes towards the Vermont ACLU, and then 50% is set aside for artists playing at the Barrage this coming season, because helps to offer guarantees, because in previous years I was not able to, and with these funds being able to allow for more artists to come and really support them better than a lot of places were before, and hopefully we will do better about in the future. And then also this past winter, I was actually the last show was we did was with Clever Girls up here at the and they did a benefit for the New York City art trip that couldn't end up happening, but we didn't know that at the time, and they came up and performed for for North Country Union high school students because the cost of getting to New York City is really out of reach for a lot of people in this area. And Diane Jean had come up before to talk about being in the music industry and all that stuff. And after DJ left, they were like, we want to do something more for the high school. And so, yeah, helping out in the communities is definitely been a major part of this whole thing, but just not every time, I guess.
So I guess you've had all sorts of bands coming in from out of state, around the area. Have you had many from Burlington come up yet?
Oh, big time. Burlington is, I mean, invaluable when it comes to music. I think that it is one of the most surprisingly diverse musical scenes. I think that a lot of us sometimes take it for granted, just how many different artists and stuff. And yeah, it definitely had a lot of artists from Burlington come up. Well, like I was mentioned, Clever Girls. We've had Mr. Burns come up, Eastern Mountain Time, Belly Up. Belly Up was awesome. They're great. They're great. I think they're recording a new album too. Who else have we had up here? Oh, Jesse Taylor Band was up here one show. That was great. I want to apologize to Jesse though, because I totally messed up the audio in one speaker for the show, and I still feel bad about that because she's got a beautiful voice and their band was great, and I kind of screwed up a little bit of this audio.
Well, you'll have to have them back.
Yes, good call. Actually, that is a good call. Then, oh yeah, Zeus Springsteen. They're great. They came up. The Dead Shakers have been up a couple times. And
I haven't heard of Zeus Springsteen. That's hilarious. I'm gonna have to look that one up.
Oh, you gotta look them up. They're super, super good. Yeah, very, very, very good band. Chris Farnsworth on guitar, wailing it and doing a great job. And then I forget, I'm neglecting to remember the drummer's name, but one of the few drummer singers at the same time. And he's got this crazy, beautiful voice that's almost like from the 70s. But anyway, yeah, Zeus Springsteen. I looked them up.
Cool. Oh, actually, someone might have mentioned them now that you say that. 70s sounding drumming singing man. That sounds very familiar, actually.
But very modern too. Like the songs are just, yeah, they're great.
What is the scene like in the Northeast Kingdom? Because I know a lot what it's like in Burlington, because I'm in this area. What's it like in the Northeast Kingdom, though?
Well, it's a pretty active scene for sure. I hesitate to really say that I'm that clued in on like the actual inner workings of the folks up here making the music, because those making the music are really they're having to hustle, and they do the shows every week, and it's usually at places that have pretty prescribed, I'm trying to think how to say this,
clientele.
Yeah, the audiences want to hear what the audiences want to hear, and so the artists perform for that, and they're super great on that. There's this one guy up here called Shrimp Tunes, and he's
good name.
It's a great name because the guy is a little tiny guy. And
oh no, now I feel bad for laughing.
But he's this great one-man band. I've heard him do what's that, Copperhead Road, and I was like sitting at this bar just looking over in awe at this guy performing Copperhead Road all by himself. He's got the kick drum, he's playing the guitar, and he's even like hitting the thing as well, and he's singing the whole time. Mad props to Shrimp Tunes. He's nice. Great.
That's awesome. That sounds fantastic.
But yeah, it's definitely a cover band heavy area outside of, and then there are some folks doing their own independent thing, but they're more scattered.
It makes sense because I know they're out there because I was a kid doing that out there.
Oh, totally.
Like they're everywhere in Vermont making music. It's very true though that then certain, if you're gonna play at the pub in whatever town, they
Yeah.
want to hear like the songs that they know, and like getting people dancing and singing is so much fun. So you just kind of want to play stuff that they're gonna do that. If they're gonna get up and dance when you play old 70s rock. And what the hey, play old 70s rock.
Yeah, and it's great, and there's a place for that, but it was definitely kind of my focus getting away from that.
Which is what they need. That's the perfect idea, I think. That's a niche that is totally neglected in most of the rural areas in the States. I know the kids are doing it because there's some phenomenal metal bands that pop up in the middle of nowhere, but they don't get to play anywhere. Like, it's this really weird scene where, like, they'll play at their friend's party kind of place.
Totally. Right. A skate park two states away.
Right, right. And that's like that's an established band. Like, that's serious.
Very
a lot
true.
of the little bands that pop up in Vermont, like I was in a band and it was like you just kind of played around town.
What was your band?
That's what you did. Oh man, we didn't, gosh. I can't even remember one of their names. It had like 7 words in it.
Of course.
It was very
it was to prove a point.
It was something about August and feelings and fire. It kind of reminded me of August Burns Red, but it had like fits of passion thrown in it. Like, it was this very long name, and I don't remember what it was.
Dig it.
And the other one, they called themselves Solstice, and in hindsight, there's like 50 bands named Solstice in the States.
It's a great name.
It's super common. And so when you Google Solstice, you find 50 bands, and ours was in, 2008 or 9, and it's totally gone now. I might still have, we made an EP tape or
fun.
EP. Right? Like, that was incredible for
Those things are I think that they're such wonderful, great things to have when you have those experiences with your friends and stuff, doing that when you're young and you're like investing all that free time.
Oh, yeah. I just think of how much I used to get to play music. I've added it up before because when I was a kid, I used to be in jazz band, regular band. We had guitar class. I did like a private study where my music teacher just let me play bass, even though I was supposed to be a recording engineer or something like that. And then I was in bands after school where we would just play the same songs over and over again. So I used to play for 5 hours a day. And that was nothing when I was in high school. That was like just a regular day. And now I pick up a bass and I'm like, whoa, this thing feels big. Like, totally. I still play, but it's not quite the same. I really want to get back in the scene. I keep thinking about starting a band, but I have the podcast. But anyway, enough about me. So you're active in town government. I definitely want to hear about this.
Oh, sure. I'm currently serving as a select board member in the town of Holland. And before that, I was on the planning commission for 6-7 years or so. And pretty much once I moved out here, I was like, holy crap, this place has town meeting, actual direct democracy. Not that representational stuff everyone keeps talking about, but actual direct democracy. And really appreciated it, and always loved the scale of the town where you make a decision, you're going to hear about it. And but also being able to participate and be a part of it. And so, yeah, that's what I've been up to in town. I mean, that's not what I've been up to in town, but how I got involved.
That's really cool. That sounds like a great way to start just getting involved in meeting people too. So I have to ask, because I know nothing about Holland. I've never been to Holland. I honestly am kind of scratching my head. I'm going to look it up right now where it is on a map.
So actually, you were talking about 91. I'm about 7 minutes from Interstate 91, the last exit.
Okay, so you're way up on the border. This is fantastic.
I bet if you look over, the barrage might even show up. If I did my Googling right, it might show up on Google Maps.
That's amazing. So tiny. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
it
we're a very
does.
tiny town. We actually just had to close our school 3 years ago for lack of students, and
Oh
otherwise,
no,
yeah, no.
where'd you send the kids?
Derby. We just tuition students to Derby Elementary School.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
Derby also doesn't have a lot of students, does it?
I'm sorry, Derby. Oh no,
Does
Derby
Derby?
does. Derby,
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah,
have
Derby's
they
got
taken a
around
lot of
five.
different towns?
I'm sorry.
Have they taken a lot of different towns' kids? I knew some consolidation was happening, but I didn't realize it was that extreme.
This was happening kind of beforehand anyway. Yeah, Derby also takes the town of Morgan's students. But Morgan and Holland are both very small towns. Morgan's difference is that it's got a gigantic, beautiful lake with real big homes on it. On the
That
lake.
makes sense. That's where some second homes are for their tax base.
Time.
Yeah, this is very, very green town. There's not a lot of houses going on in Holland.
We have a
This
year-round population of around 650. Period.
That's about half the size Berkshire was when I was growing up. So that's very small because Berkshire's a town where you never really saw your neighbors. Like you
Yeah.
just didn't see them. And Holland has half the people and it looks as big as Berkshire.
It is, but we
So-
also we have, which we're really lucky about, and I always love to talk about this, but we have a wildlife management area, which is a huge part of Vermont's public spaces, and they're actually the best place to get lost and not see anybody. And so, like about a quarter of our town to a third of our town is actually just a wildlife management area.
Is that the eastern part? Because I was looking
Yes.
at the eastern part and I'm like, this looks like nothing.
Yeah. The nickname is the Hurricane, which is like badass.
Yeah, that looks like where you could get lost. Because I've talked about this with people before. And in Vermont, in most places, you stand on a mountain and you get lost and you can just keep going in a direction until you hit a road or a house or something. This looks like an area where you could get lost and keep heading in a direction and it'll get dark. And like this looks a little scary in terms of getting lost while hiking, but it looks beautiful and quiet. And I bet there's all sorts of beautiful birds. And fantastic creatures, and probably some giant turtles in the pond.
Yeah, big time. And actually, just yesterday, my partner and I were biking in that area, and we saw moose.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I bet it's absolutely beautiful out there. Ah, this is so cool to me that you have. So it has a wildlife preserve area, and now it has the Barrage, where you're going to have some cool bands playing all sorts of funky music.
That's the idea.
You're far enough away from the wildlife preserve that you won't disturb the moose. Mostly.
Not at all. No, just my cats.
Right, right. Oh, this is great. This is so cool to me. So, you're a high school special educator. Tell me about that. That is such a great career.
Yeah, that's what they say. I've been a high school special educator working with students with disabilities for about 13 years at North Country Union High School, and before that for 2 years at Essex High School, where I was a paraprofessional. And yeah, just been in the education game for a very long time, and all that amount of time does to a person with public education, it's done to me.
I'm sure it's a hard job. I'm sure it's rewarding and hard and just
It's
hopefully
everything.
yeah, hopefully you get thanked. I'm thanking
I get
you.
thanked all
Thanks
the
for
time.
what you do.
Thank
That's a great thing that you can help the kids because people just need someone to care about them so often and just putting in a little bit of extra help can make all the difference. I've seen it happen quite literally. Yeah. Especially so this is a great question since you got to work in Essex, which is very much in the populous part of the state. How different is it going from the Northeast Kingdom to Chittenden County?
Wow. Makes me the only thing I can think of is a stupid joke, which is what's the great thing about Burlington? It's so close to Vermont. And I mean, it's the kids up here those that have the privilege to be able to get out of town and go and experience things find themselves in a great place and utilize a lot of things. Then you have a lot of kids that are from the area who really love and appreciate the area but have aspirations outside of it. But then you have other ones that just, for a lot of reasons, just don't have the ability or privilege to be able to think of anything other than what's happening 2 hours from now. And
Right.
I know that exists in Chittenden County. I definitely experienced it even with my short 2 years at Essex High School, that some real inequalities exist down there as well as up here. I think that the difference up here is just that there are fewer opportunities as well, because it's really challenging to try to convince people in the value of education if the main selling point is a decent job that would pay you a decent amount, when that doesn't exist up here for the most part. For the most part, there's not a lot of economic opportunities outside of the customer service thing. I mean, there's totally, like I mentioned, Border Patrol, like law enforcement. You want a career in law enforcement, come on up here. They're always hiring.
Oh, I know. So what there's amazing benefits of being in a small town, though. Let's talk about some of the good stuff of being in the small towns and being out away from Chittenden County. Because in Chittenden County, we I feel like people kind of lose the small town charm a little bit, because no one knows everyone's name. When you get
No.
out in a smaller town, especially in smaller schools, you just know everybody.
It's true. There's a lot of different things that just kind of rear their head up. And what I think one thing that really got me and I really had to work through is just anxiety, social anxiety, because that's what I grew up with. Like, I mean, I knew my neighbors and stuff in the neighborhood I grew up in, but when I was living in the old North End, I didn't necessarily know everybody. Um, but you just get to a point where you just start having to talk to people, even though you're like, oh, I don't know, this guy looks big and burly and he might shoot me. Then next thing you know, he's like sweetest guy in the world and talking to your ear off and pulling your car out of the side of the road when you just were going that too fast on the snowy corner before you got your snow tires on. And all sorts of things. But I think one of the neatest, like, kind of quaint things that I got going is that my neighbor, who actually was born and raised in my house, he owns and operates a sawmill next door. And so he was able to like bring old offcuts of wood, which I've been using. Like, I used to build the doors on the Barrage and put sound baffling in the Barrage. And then also there's all sorts of wood things I've been able to do because he's got the sawmill right next door. And after the first 2 years of like renting a porta potty, I was like, this is too expensive. And so I talked to him and he was able to build me an outhouse and then drive down the road in his tractor and put it on the big hole in my yard. And
That
yeah,
is some good Vermont culture.
yeah, big time, big time. And what I always appreciate too is that he says that, because he's like a little up the hill and down, he's got a big like tiki bar and like his own fire pit. And he's like, oh, I love when you guys have shows. We just invite friends. We just don't pay, but we just sit over here and we enjoy all the free music. I'm like, well, I guess I like that. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I don't get any money. Money goes to the artists, but I wanted to help. That'd be nice. But no, go for it. That's great. As long as people are
Right.
enjoying.
Hey, I was gonna say it's a whole lot better than them complaining, which you'd probably get in the city.
True, but I always try to have it all wrapped up by 10:30, and all my shows are on Friday and Saturdays. I think the only time I was up late was a little after hours impromptu karaoke one night.
That's awesome. Yeah, karaoke. Oh, karaoke in Holland sounds so much fun.
It's everything the
I don't
stars are saying.
Right. It almost sounds like an oxymoron to me, because when when you're out in the middle of nowhere, the kids get very used to nothing. Like it's something to do? Are you kidding me? There's something happening here?
You'd think that, but I have 2 kids, and I have to convince them to come outside to the rock concert in their garage.
Right. Well, you're the cool dad who has the rock concert in your garage. The kids get used to that real quick.
Yes.
That makes sense. I always have to laugh at that. That's funny how kids can just disregard, like, oh, my family's doing this awesome thing. That's boring now.
Yeah.
Because I've seen David Grohl's daughter on film when he's trying to like play a concert, and she's this little tyke at the time. And she comes up and just like grabs his guitar strings, like, "Daddy, I need a smoothie now." Like, oh no, like that is David relate. Grohl. Like not
to the scale, but
like, oh, show the man some respect, little girl. And they just, they don't know. Kids are funny like that. But hey, they'll learn when they get older, and then they'll tell stories about how cool it was and how awesome it was. And you would never have thought that they'd have been apathetic and bored with it, probably.
That is true.
Yeah, that's it. When they go to college, that's going to be a cool story.
Hopefully.
Oh, okay. Is there any other specific thing that you want to cover? I didn't have a whole lot of specifics besides just where the convo went, and I feel like we've covered most of the stuff that I knew that I wanted to talk about. Anything from you, though?
Oh. No, yeah, I just not too much. No, I appreciated all the questions, and I appreciate you taking the time to show interest in the Barrage and Borderline Entertainment. I think it's something I really want to share with people. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. And I want to share it with people too. That's what Vermont Talks is all about, is just sharing the cool stuff that Vermonters do. And hopefully it clicks with some people. Hopefully people can relate, and these conversations mean something to people. I feel like the long form interviews just been lost in so many ways, and that's the only way you can really get to know someone. If I cut you off in 10 minutes, I wouldn't feel like I got to know you as well. And hopefully everyone who hears the show will feel the same way, that they really connect with you and they'll want to go out and see the Barrage, check it out, and any of the cool bands, because it sounds like you're going to have hopefully some good ones.
Yeah. Hopefully last Saturdays of the warm months. But you're doing a great job. I definitely feel like when I listen to what you're doing, you do get a much better understanding of the people, and it is a more important thing, because kind of full circle. One of the things, at least with the Barrage, is being able to just bring back that community thing and being able to really understand people better and see people face to face. And this audio format that you're doing is really speaking to that in a really good way. So
well, thank you. And hopefully it's for my original thought was I want these to be long form interviews so people can digest them when they drive in their car all the way to work, because so many of us do that. Burlington, who work in Burlington, who just live in Vermont. We have to drive 45 minutes, I think, is the average I read somewhere.
Wow. I feel lucky. I got 20 minutes.
Oh, that's nice, right? Compared to some people. Because I know people who drive every day 2 hours easily, if not more. My mom does it. Like, everybody does it.
Oh, down to Burlington or something?
My mom's actually going from Enosburg to Morrisville right now.
Ugh. And you can't get there from here. You can't get there from here.
Oh yeah, that's it. There's no good way to get there from Enosburg either. She has to basically go through, I think she said she goes down through Jeffersonville.
Ooh, that's sketchy in the winter.
Oh, super sketchy. Like very sketchy.
Yeah.
Such long trips too. Ugh, yeah. Okay, so I think we've got everything we need. Thank you so much for being on the show, Andy. Everybody go check out the Barrage on Facebook. Did I get that right? It's the Barrage on Facebook, right?
It's called Borderline Entertainment on Facebook. I'm just trying to confuse everybody.
That was it. I kind of got confused myself. Okay, everyone check out Borderline Entertainment on Facebook. Check Andy out. Go watch some shows. They're coming soon. Thank you so much to Andy for coming on the show, and thank you, listeners, for making it all the way to the end of the podcast. Go to Vermont Talks /23 to check out the show notes. I'll have links to Andy Bouchard's Instagram page, which is at @USOutofVT. And you can find him on Facebook under the name Borderline Entertainment. And that was what was new in the 802. Have a great day. The Vermont Talks show music was created by Jason Baker. Thank you so much, Jason, for making the music. You can check out his website at jbakervt.com.